is a hell on earth, it is the lives of children in Gaza. Those are the words of UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres at a General Assembly meeting on the ongoing conflict in Gaza.
Israel is a serial violator of international law. They're in violation currently of 28 separate UN resolutions. They are a force of occupation and they operate a system of apartheid. And again now, the world looks on with horror at the bombardment of the Palestinian people and the barbaric violation again of the basic human rights of Palestinians by the State of Israel. The aggressive Israeli military onslaught on Gaza has continued for weeks now. The vicious attacks on Palestinians in the West Bank, the terrifying pogroms that have driven Palestinians from their homes in East Jerusalem by illegal settlers continue and are facilitated by the so-called forces of law and order of the Israeli state. And Gaza, of course, is an open-air prison made so by an Israeli blockade, a siege that has been ongoing for 14 years now. And yet again, Israel unleashes the weight of its military might on Gaza and warns Palestinians to get out. But the truth is, there is nowhere for them to go. And so their missiles rain down from the sky. And there they are trapped, a people trapped, a refugee people trapped, as one of the most sophisticated military forces in the world smashes down on beleaguered, impoverished people with devastating consequences, on refugee people, on people rendered homeless, rendered stateless, people dispossessed. And yet the perpetrators go unchallenged. To suggest that there are two sides to this story is utterly perverse. To suggest that Israel is simply defending itself is an obscenity, and shame on anyone, on any so-called world leader, wherever they are, if they repeat such an obscenity. The international community has seen what has happened to the Palestinian people in full sight and in full view, and they have stepped back and allowed this to happen. To the UN Security Council, to the entire apparatus of the international community, let me say this, that we see you. Your people and your population see you. And whereas the great and the good of the international community may find it acceptable to step back and make an argument of the one hand this and on the other hand that, and meanwhile Palestinian refugee children die, make no mistake that that is not an acceptable position to the people of the world. I feel confident that global citizens are appalled and repulsed and enraged, quite frankly, that here we are again and Palestine suffers. So yes, we need a cessation, and that needs to happen immediately. And yes, we need a full-scale humanitarian effort. But above all else, let's be clear, we need justice. We need the rule of law to prevail. We need Palestinian self-determination. We need the State of Israel to be finally called out for what it is, a racist apartheid regime. And we in Ireland, perhaps us more than any other people, have a special obligation to act on all of this, because we know the colonial experience, the experience of dispossession and division. We know what it is to be left destitute. So we have no excuse not to act. So Minister Coveney and your government, when will we recognise the state of Palestine? That has been agreed in this Parliament years ago. When will we see the Occupied Territories legislation advanced? And when will we finally insist, loudly, clearly and consistently, that the law be respected and that Palestinian lives matter?
In Gaza, Israeli fighter jets are continuing to cause more destruction and death. In just the past 24 hours, 2 crowded refugee camps, homes to tens of thousands of people, have come under attack. So far, 233 Palestinians, including 65 children, have been killed in the Israeli offensive, which began just last week.